So I'm going to be showing you how to make pine needle tea. Shout out to Sam for sharing the link on Facebook, and yeah. So first thing you're going to want to do is find an appropriate batch of pine needles. First you're going to want to learn to differentiate other evergreen trees from pine trees, and then you're going to need to learn to differentiate certain species of pine trees from edible pine trees. The most beneficial and the most edible is the white pine or the eastern white pine. And that's what I've managed to find here. The way you can tell is that if you look closely at the bunches that grow from the stem, see right here? They grow out in little groups, and each group on a white pine will have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, they're wet because I just washed them off. So once you find an appropriate species of pine, by the way, the reason the white is the best is because it's the highest vitamin C content. That's the most benefit you're going to get from any pine needle tea. If you include bark in the tea, you'll get some additional benefits. And also with just the pine needles, you'll get some vitamin A as well. So what I have here is white pine. I am just going to remove them from the base stem. And then I am going to chop them up. You won't see me do that because we don't have my tripod. I know I really need to get my tripod set up in the kitchen so I can do more. You can actually see me doing more processes. But knife, cutting board, and I'm just going to de-stem them. They've already been washed. And then I'm going to cut them in probably thirds, I'd say. This is me. You can do it however you'd like. And I will get back to you in just a second as soon as that's done. Alright guys, so I chopped the pine needles up after I pulled them off of the main stems. I don't know if I mentioned this to you in the first little snippet of the video prior to chopping it, but the way you can remember if it's a white pine, that's the safest kind to eat from and consume pine needle tea from, is that the white pine has 5 needles and the word white has 5 letters. This is a common, I believe acronym would be the correct term, to determine whether or not your pine tree is a white or eastern white pine tree. So yeah, this was first introduced to the Europeans by the Native Americans because after their long trips on their boats, they came over and were suffering terribly from scurvy, and the Native Americans introduced them to this tea, which is extremely high in vitamin C. Has as much vitamin C in it as like 8 oranges, I believe, or 8 times as much vitamin C as 1 orange. Yeah, that's what it is. Sorry about that. It's 8 times as much vitamin C as an orange in 1 cup of pine needle tea. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll link some informational sites in the info bar, so be sure to check that out and make sure you're getting the right needles. And yep, so I'm going to take you over here. Please excuse any messes you see. In this pot I have about 2 cups of water. I like my tea strong, and as you could tell, I did not get a lot of needles because this is a trial batch. And then over here I have a mesh strainer where I'll be straining out the tea and separating out the pine needles. So I'm going to be putting it in here. The important part to remember is that as soon as it comes to a boil, turn it off and remove it from the heat, because vitamin C is heat sensitive. So if you boil it, it's going to ruin a lot of the vitamin C that is in the pine needles. So don't boil, and this goes with any tea really. You don't want to boil it the whole time. You want to bring the water to boiling, remove it from the heat, and let it steep. Don't continue to boil it or you'll ruin the nutrition that's in the tea. Also, once I add the pine needles to this water, I'm going to use a wooden spoon and just kind of bruise them up a little bit, and that'll help release some of the vitamin C and the vitamin A and just help flavor the water a little better. And I'm going to get to that now, and I will show a finished product here in just a few minutes. Okay, so I just finished straining the tea. I let it steep for quite a while. I typically just do that because I feel like it gets more flavor into it, but also because I like my teas to be just warm and not piping hot. I know I'm a little weird when it comes to that. Sometimes if my throat is sore, just to feel especially cold, or it's just a really rainy, gloomy day, I'll drink my tea really hot. But usually I'm a cold drink person or a warm drink person, not piping hot. So this is where I strained it. This is the leftover needles. And this is the finished product. It'll get a little bit of a yellowy green tinge to it. And if you smell of it, which I'm doing right now, it just smells very earthy. When you first smell the pine needles, of course they smell piney, but after they've been cooked, they just smell more earthy. Now, some of you for Christmas may have gotten a white pine, so before you throw it away, you might consider making tea from your Christmas tree or next year. But make sure you get one that you know is coming from an organic vendor that hasn't been treated with pesticides, and make sure that if you go out into your own neighborhood or nearby woods that it's not treated with pesticides. You don't want to, I mean, you can potentially do the vinegar soak just as you would non-organic produce from the supermarket, but it's just better safe than sorry. Get your outdoorsy edibles from a clean source versus one that you know is being treated with chemicals. But this is my cute little owl bowl that my boyfriend's mom got for me. And I'll be drinking this tea. I actually got a new owl mug for Christmas, but it's still wrapped up, so I haven't had a chance to unwrap it yet. It's just been kind of busy lately with classes, but this is my owl mug that I almost always drink my tea out of, and my boyfriend got me this one. I have a thing for owls, so yep. But that is the tea. If only I had my little inspirational quote that usually comes on my morning tea, which is the Yogi and Energy tea and vanilla spice. Let's see, inspirational quote for you. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And we'll end on that note. All right, guys. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, check the info bar for information on how to differentiate trees and find the proper edible pine trees, and just to learn more about this in general. And if you're watching this on my personal Facebook, then hello, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.